friend.
Welcome to Heavy Metal.
History.
How's it going, listeners? Welcome to episode number 37. This episode, I sat down with Jamie Hanks from I Declare War. It is about 2 in the morning, and I'm editing this episode together now. And Jamie came on, sat down with me. We talk about like 4 or 5 records that he was into that kind of like melded him and got him into metal. And man, we go deep on like a myriad of topics and subjects. We talk about all kinds of genres and bands, and it's a long podcast. It's about 2.5 hours long, but man, is it a good one. I am looking forward to hearing back from all of you about this episode. So please email us, give a rate and review on iTunes if you can. That would really help us out a lot. And man, we have some good stuff coming up our next few weeks of episodes. I got John Hunt from Dead to Fall and Joseph Schaefer to talk about Northwest Terrorfest. But until then, enjoy episode 37 with Jamie Hanks of I Declare War. All right, guys. So today on the podcast, I have with me Jamie Hanks from I Declare War. Jamie, thank you for doing the podcast, man.
Yeah, definitely, man. It's a pleasure.
I guess for maybe people who don't know who you are or know the band, maybe give everybody a little bit of a rundown of what you do and maybe other bands you've been into.
Yeah, definitely. My name is Jamie Hanks. I sing for I guess most people would consider it a deathcore band from the Pacific Northwest called I Declare War. I've been the singer for this band for, I think, 7 or 8 years. And previous to that, I was on a Rise Records signed death metal band called Those Who Lie Beneath. We put one record out with that, and then I got an opportunity to fill in for I Declare War for a couple tours, and long story short, I'm here, and I've been here for 7 or 8 years now.
Yeah, I remember when you first joined in like 2010 or 11, I guess.
Yeah,
man. It's so funny, like, because I know Carnifex did that little short tour with you guys in like the middle of 2012, and it was like you guys and Rings of Saturn and them. And it was always so funny to me, like hearing you talk in your normal voice and then you going on stage and like just screeching out the way you do. It's like, Jesus fucking Christ, man. I don't understand like the different decibels that your voice just is able to go to.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I guess I've just always kind of I've had the ability to raise my voice. I try not to do it, but yeah, I can yell. Even when I was a kid, I could scream really loud. I remember screaming at my little brother when I was a kid and being like, "Damn, I'm pretty good at this," and not really knowing, down the road I would have a career in it. But I was pretty good at yelling when I was a kid too.
Yeah, it worked out in your favor. That's for damn sure. So today, man, we got Jamie's guest picks. That's what we're gonna do with this episode, since it's been like a year since your last album came out, so we're not quite still in the space to really talk about that. But I mean, we can. I don't really care. It's always fun to just talk about random stuff. But just to give a rundown of what we're gonna talk about this episode, and then we'll let Jamie start, and then we'll go from there. We're gonna talk about Cult of Luna, Somewhere Along the Highway, the Acacia Strain, Wormwood, Glass Casket, Desperate Man's Diary, Gaza, No Absolutes in Human Suffering, and Behemoth's Evangelion. And I think that is a solid mix of albums to talk about. I'm fucking stoked to like delve into all these and really find out what they mean to you personally too, because you're the one that picked them.
For sure.
So what do you want to start with, man?
I mean, we can just start from I guess Glass Casket, Desperate Man's Diaries.
Okay.
Yeah, that record, I think it just came out perfect time for me. I was a huge fan of the first record, We're Gathered Here Today. I think that's what it was called.
Yep.
Yeah, and that record was way more technical, and at the time, like, I was listening to a lot of just really technical stuff, and this record, Desperate Man's Diaries, came out, and it kind of changed the way that I listen to heavy metal and most music in general. I just kind of, most of the time I like darker music, and Desperate Man's Diaries came out, and the way it's recorded, the way the guitars are played, the lyrics, everything about it is just, it just sounds deep and like warm and dark.
Yeah. Yeah, man, even like the opening song in there, the way it just like rips straight into that like blackened death metal type riff and just goes so hard in the beginning. You're like, whoa, this is, especially for 2006, you weren't really hearing a lot of that stuff done.
Yeah, I think that at the time, Blake Richardson, the drummer for Between the Buried and Me, and Dusty, the guitar player for Between the Buried and Me, were playing guitar for the band, or guitar and drums for the band, and I mean, just their technical prowess kind of allows them to do things that a lot of metalcore bands just straight up weren't able to do at that point in time. Because metalcore, I mean, you know, if you really think about it, that was kind of like still pretty early in metalcore.
Definitely. 2006, man.
That record. Yeah. And, I mean, outside of a few deathcore bands, they might even be considered, you know, one of the first deathcore bands, if that's what you want to call them. Just everything about it, man. It was so sweet. They had just these serious solos, and the thing that really turned me on to that record the most, without a doubt, is that guy's lyrics are just so heavy. And no one at the time was writing stuff like that. Everybody was just so dead set on writing stuff about being brutal or, you know, I like more of like an emotional style lyric. That's why I always really enjoyed stuff like Poison the Well, because that dude, he rips his guts out with his lyrics, and it was hard to find in death metal at the time. So I really, really enjoyed what that guy was doing.
Yeah, it definitely seems like there was a lot of personal stuff put into those lyrics, whether it's like struggling with religion or like losing a loved one and addiction and mental illness. Yeah. It covers such a wide array of like human things, and this guy kind of like transferred it all into the lyrics and the music, and it gives it that extra kind of like darker, sinister feeling that you were talking about too, because the lyrics permeate like throughout the song in such a way that's really, really cohesive, I think.
Definitely. Yeah. That whole record changed the way that I write everything that I write, and kind of made me decide I like writing brutal shit, but I'm going to stick to one or two brutal songs a record, and the rest of the time I'm going to try to really focus on writing shit from the heart.
Yeah. And I think that goes a long way. A lot of people, and I mean, every band's different, you know, like some people, like, that's their thing. They're going to write about, you know, there's no Cannibal Corpse song that's ever going to be deep and profound. It's always going to be about fucking somebody's guts and, you know, shit like that. And that's it. That's fine. But, you know, it's kind of nice when a band can like put that level of realness into what they're trying to make. It makes music a little bit more of an art form.
Yeah, definitely. Don't get me wrong. Like, I think Scourge of Iron is arguably the heaviest song ever written.
Yep.
But there's like so many different types of heavy, you know? Like, Sigaros to some people might be the most heavy thing that they've ever heard, just because it's profound to them.
Yes.
It just kind of depends on what you find, you know, heavy.
Yeah.
How you feel.
Yeah, whether it's like through a sound or through a lyric, it's got some kind of emotional resonance there.
Definitely.
There was one thing too, like with this record, because Dusty and Blake had only been in Between the Buried and Me for like a year at this point, because they came on with Alaska. But it's such a cool little melting pot there, because you even had Prayer for Cleansing way back in the day, who had Tommy,
totally.
you know?
Yep.
And all those bands, like, they kind of...
Yeah, wasn't Paul Wagner in Prayer for Cleansing?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, Paul was in the band too, shit.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, that, Between the Buried and Me, it's kind of like, they're a super group, if you really think about it, you know?
Yeah, no, that's a good way of looking at it. I like that.
Prayer for Cleansing was like, at one point, they were the sickest metalcore band out there. Glass Casket was, I mean, they weren't probably the biggest band. They're arguably the most important band in my life, but they were still a big signed band for the most part to most people.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. It's kind of interesting looking back on stuff like this too, you know, when like you think about 2006, it's like, man, how did this band never really quite make it bigger or do more albums? And I mean, one of the obvious answers is because Dusty and Blake went to Between the Buried and Me, but I mean, the band had so much potential to keep kind of doing something and probably getting better with each subsequent record, more than likely.
Yeah.
And we'll never know. I know there was that rumor back in like 2014, 15 that they were going to start doing stuff again, and then like nothing ever happened.
Yeah, I actually I've seen Between the Buried and Me a handful of times since, and I ran into Dusty on the street pre-show once, and I felt dumb, but I was like, dude, like, I need a Glass Casket record so bad. And he almost seemed like he was just, like, irritated about the fact that I was even asking him. So I would assume, especially considering you can't even find the records on iTunes right now, that something bad happened. I mean, I couldn't even tell you where to start or what happened, but you have to like either have a physical copy of it or listen to it on YouTube or something like that, or download it.
Yeah.
Because you can't find it on iTunes. I don't have Spotify, but I would assume it's probably not on Spotify either. If it's not on iTunes, it's probably nowhere, because it seems like iTunes has fucking everything.
Yeah, you know, even when I was like trying to like look up any kind of information about this record, there's like nothing. It's just like, this record was put out in 2006. Two of the guys are now in Between the Buried and Me. It was recorded by Jamie King. Yeah. That's it. It's like, fuck.
Well, let it be known now that if I could fork the $95 or $100 to put it up on TuneCore to happily allow people to listen to it nationwide, they can take the proceeds for it, and I will happily take the $100 hit for the TuneCore year to get it up on iTunes and Spotify and stuff like that, because I have an iPhone, so my only option is iTunes, and
fuck,
it's not on there, so I need it.
Yeah, and I think if people listening to this have never heard of this band or this album, like, you're seriously doing yourself a disservice by not having heard it, so you should probably go try and find it any way you can right now, because it's really worth it.
Yeah, definitely.
You know what's funny too is like even the very last song where like he's just kind of like talking over like the piano stuff, and trying to find the lyrics for that too is like nearly impossible. It took me probably like 20 minutes to find the lyrics for it, and I was like, Jesus, why is this so hard?
Is it not on Dark Lyrics anymore? Because that's kind of like it used to be my go-to.
Yeah, it just says instrumental on there, and that's it. And I was like, it's not an instrumental. I mean, it is, but, you know.
Yeah. I wonder if, because I remember, like, reading those lyrics, but maybe I was just, like, reading all the lyrics up to that, and then since it was him talking, I just, like, it registered so much easier to my ear that I remember it being on, like, a lyric sheet as well.
Yeah, it's one of those, like, Bernstein Bears kind of things, like you think you saw it, but you're not sure.
Yeah, exactly. The what's the one, the Sinbad? Yeah, have you heard about the Sinbad movie?
Oh yeah, the one where he's like a genie or something, right?
Yeah, where he's a genie. Yeah. Dude, I've asked so many people about that, and everybody's like, "Oh yeah, dude, I remember that one." I'm like, "No, you don't."
Yeah, I don't remember that one either. I remember the Shaquille O'Neal movie where he's a genie.
Kazam.
Yeah.
Dude, I swear, I remembered. What's his face in a genie movie? Sinbad in a genie movie, but I don't know. I'm probably just tripping.
Yeah, it's one of those funny ass things that maybe like the internet invented it, and they're just like trying to trick people. It's all like the weird, false bullshit on the internet. But it's funny either way. It's like one of those things, yeah. But man, for 2006, like comparing this to other stuff that was probably out in that year, about to be out, like it's kind of a hard record to even compare to anything else to, because there really wasn't anything else that sounded like this. I mean, you had like maybe more pure genre versions of this record, like a pure black and death metal album. But I don't know, even the whole deathcore thing is silly to me. Like the genre labeling thing it's gotten really out of hand, and I'm just like, man, it's fucking heavy metal. Like, who cares?
It's so exhausting, man. Like I try to keep up with it as much as I can, just because I don't know, man. I try to keep in the loop, and then I also try to like make sure that what I'm doing isn't so outdated that I don't have any stake in the game anymore.
Yeah.
And there's a new genre for everything, and I just after a while I just kind of I just say I quit, and I'm just gonna do what I do, and if people like it, they like it, and if they don't, they don't.
Yeah, it's like one of the new ones that I've been seeing lately is people have been calling it down tempo, where it's just
down tempo.
Yeah, the only band I can think of that comes to mind that get labeled that a lot is Black Tongue. I don't
see, when I think of Black Tongue, I almost think it's just like sludge.
Yeah,
it's
so weird the way people want to label things like that. But
yeah. When I think of down tempo, I think of stuff like Cursed, because it's always like when I hear the word down tempo, I think of a beat like running down a hill as fast as it can, and it's just like falling over itself, going so fast. And Cursed for 4 records now has just been like, go as fast as you can, and
that makes sense.
Stuff like that. Curl Up and Die, I guess, might be considered a down tempo band. I don't know. I get caught up in it sometimes too. I can't help it.
Yeah.
That band Rivers of Nile.
Mm-hmm.
People label them as like a black and death metal band. And to me, they're just a death metal band.
Agree. I mean,
there's just the heavy hitter genres, and if I had to pick a single genre, it's death metal. Same with I Declare War. I Declare War is a death metal band. My whole band is a death metal band. It's just if you want to just label everything heavy metal, then I totally understand, because when it really boils all down to it, it's fucking heavy metal.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Exactly.
But if you want to nitpick and be kind of a pain in the ass, then there's black metal, there's death metal, there's thrash. But
I mean, it is interesting in the aspect of like kind of like the way that we're looking at chronicling things with the podcast. Like it is interesting seeing like how those offshoots kind of start from other genres, and it's like, okay, like I see the point in labeling it, but sometimes like it's just a little too far. Like you're making these umbrellas wider and wider and wider, and really it's just like, like when Black Sabbath came out, they weren't called doom metal, they were just called heavy metal, like or metal. You know, now it's doom metal. It's like, all right, well, fuck, man.
I mean, you listen to like the Sabbath Dio stuff, that shit is straight up heavy metal.
Yep.
Like still to this day, like even the Ozzy Sabbath stuff, which is like the first 2 records I ever bought were Nirvana Nevermind and Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, and I didn't know what the fuck it was, but I knew it was like dark and heavy, and that shit was sick. And the artwork as a 9-year-old was sick, And somebody told me it was heavy metal because doom metal probably wasn't even on the radar yet when I was a kid, or at least, you know, around where I was. And they called it heavy metal, so I was like, man, I like this heavy metal shit.
Yeah, man. And dude, we had this debate on the podcast too. You know, I'm sure you heard it, like when we were talking about like Ozzy versus Dio Sabbath, and it's like, man, they're each it's each their different, like, different version of Sabbath, sure, but man, it's still like they each have their own merits, and they're both good in different ways, and you can't really fucking compare the two. It's just like, I'll listen to Dio Sabbath and Ozzy Sabbath. I don't care.
Yeah, I'm definitely, don't get me wrong, like, I am an Ozzy Sabbath guy. Like, if I had to choose between the two, I am an Ozzy Sabbath guy. But Ronnie James Dio fucking ripped it in Sabbath.
Yeah.
But he did 3 albums with them.
Yeah, he did 3 albums, and then they had that one random dude, like, fill in at one point. I forget his name, but...
Well, with that being said, like, you would think with the giant team that I would assume that Sabbath has around them, somebody would have said if the experiment was failing with Dio, hey guys, like, maybe we should figure something out because the experiment's not working. And clearly it was working because, you know, they put 3 full records out with the guy.
Yeah,
you know?
I think Heaven and Hell was one of their biggest selling albums by far.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, probably not at this point. Like,
no.
I would assume people went back to the catalogs and looked up Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, and you know, Volume 3 and stuff like that. Those are my 2 favorites. So.
Yeah.
Did you ever get into fucking? What was the last one with Ozzy? It was in like the late 70s.
God damn it. It's funny, it's like, as much as we chronicle all this stuff, like, my mind quickly just like forgets. Never Say Die. Right? Yeah, we listened to that one, and I never got into it when I was younger, but like, kind of when we went back and revisited it, I was like, yeah, it's not great, but it's not terrible.
It's rocking. It's just like, it's definitely, like, apparently the story behind it is they were doing a lot of cocaine at the time.
Oh yeah, dude,
and
they never stopped doing cocaine.
Like, yeah, those dudes were partying hard when that record came out because they took some shortcuts probably, and they were writing like rockin' shit. There wasn't a lot of like doom and gloom in that record.
Yeah, none at all. It was like stylistically like a huge kind of departure from where they started as. Definitely.
But you know, you need to branch out too, and that was I guess a good way to start the branch out. You know, with a rockin' record, and then did they get Dio after that, or was that,
they
like,
did. Yeah, they went to Dio right after that, I think.
That's right. Okay, yeah, and then it sped up a little bit. So, I mean, it kind of makes sense, the departure from, like, the Doom into the Dio era.
Huh. You know, I never looked at it that way now, thinking about those two back-to-back, because they do stylistically make sense.
Yeah, I just worked my way through that.
Damn.
Pat myself on the back for that one.
Revelation. Yeah. Oh, man. So, what's the next album we want to talk about? We got way off topic, but that's cool. That's what I love about this, man.
I ramble. Gaza's No Absolute Human Suffering.
Okay. I remember when this came out, and I was such a huge fan of the album that came out before this. Like, that one song, He Is Never Coming Back, I would listen to that nonstop.
Dude. Yeah.
And when this first came out, I didn't like it. It took me like a good 6 months to really like enjoy it. And then I was like, okay, I get the album now.
Yeah. I think I was just kind of immediately on board with these guys because I played with them.
Mm-hmm.
My very first local band, like way back in the day, played shows in Portland and a little dive venue called the Solid State, and they played on one of our last shows, and I had never I'd never heard anything like Gaza before. Like, I listened to like Big Destroyer and Napalm Death and stuff like that, but the first time I heard Gaza, I was just like, wow, this sounds like Pig Destroyer kind of, but it's like different. Like it almost still sounds like it's got like a little bit of a hardcore vibe to it. And I grew up being like the only death metal kid around a group of hardcore dudes.
Yeah.
So I would put on that record, and I'd put on He Is Never Coming Back, and people would they'd still be cool with it.
Yeah, this album too, man, like it wasn't like a huge stylistic shift for them. It was still like really just freaking spastic and like crazy as all get out. But there was something I still can't put my finger on it to this day, but there's still something a little bit different about each of their albums, like by far. But this one, it was so different. I was just like, man, I know it's still the same band, but it feels a little different. But when I was reading a bunch of stuff about it, man, like the singer was talking about like, well, usually when we record an album, we're just like trying to make the craziest, weirdest stuff we can. But with this one, we actually like, we're taking our time, we're writing songs with a little more craft behind it, and we really want to like get something good out there. And I was like, all right, I can see that. That makes more sense now. Like they're actually constructing songs instead of just like blasting a bunch of riffs together and playing them all at once.
Yeah. They came from that like not like spaz, but like that like alarm clock riff era.
Yeah,
I guess is where everybody was just trying to just wow out and just play like as many crazy notes as they could with Havocs and stuff like that. And I think that the first couple records, they definitely like were into that, but it sounds like they, as a band, decided like maybe we should try something a little bit different, but not stray too far away from it. And I think what they ended up doing was they just ended up kind of like toning back the wildness and just deciding like, let's just be mean, and you can hear it.
Yes,
like that record is fucking mean, man. Like few records are as angry sounding as that. Like maybe Nails, Unsilent Death, or what's the second record from Nails? Abandon All Life.
Abandon All Life. Yeah.
Like those two records are like insanely angry.
You ever
some early?
Go ahead.
Some early like Integrity stuff, but very few things are as pissed off as that,
Yeah, I was going to say Early Graves is another band that comes to mind that's just fucking angry as hell.
Yeah. See, that grind stuff, man, the reason why I like it so much is because it's just no bullshit, There's no frill. There's no, like, you can hear, even in, like, the style of music that I'm in, you can hear where things were like probably cut a little bit up, or some snare hits were probably fixed. With stuff like Early Graves and Gaza and Nails and Cult Leader, which Gaza ended up becoming.
Yeah, that's what was cool, man. I was like, immediately, like, when they were like, oh, we're not going to be a band, but we're all going to go and do other things, and then Cult Leader happened, I was like, well, fuck yeah, Cult Leader was the shit, man.
Yeah. Oh, dude. I didn't realize that everybody in the band was in Cult Leader outside of the singer until I saw him live. And when I saw him live, I was like, oh, this makes perfect sense. This is why this sounds like Gaza.
Yeah.
But it's like,
it's more refined.
It's cool. Yeah, totally. Like they figured out. It took a couple records for them to figure it out. But I actually just went and listened to the first Cult Leader EP today because I was gonna buy the record at a record store, and you could tell they were still trying to like figure out like what do we want to do. But by the time the newest record came out, what's that one called? Endless Hope or
shit.
Lightless
Walk, yeah.
Lightless Walk. Yeah. Lightless Walk came out, man, and that shit was just like pumping. They figured it out.
Yeah, and then it sucks because they went and broke up now too, and it's like, well, god damn it, you guys can't get a fucking break, man.
Really?
Yeah, they're not a band anymore.
No shit, because they're supposed to play. Maybe they're just playing like
yeah, they're doing like We're Done shows, those kind of shows.
Well, I know they're coming with Converge and Sumac to Portland.
Yeah,
they might just be like they might be doing like a couple regional things, but I would imagine touring as a band like that has to be really fucking hard because you're probably still playing like basements and like small bars and stuff where you just can't get the merch sales pumping through, stuff like that.
Dude, I saw them last October with Dillinger Escape Plan. They fucking killed it. Like it was perfect.
That's a perfect tour for them. I saw them with Dragged into Sunlight last year. Yeah, and it was a perfect tour for them because it was like that kind of grindy, like sort of black metal crowd that would probably also be into like some death metal and stuff like that. So it was like a perfect mix. But I'm sure finding tours like that are just like so hard because there's a bunch of bands that are all probably fighting for the same spot.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. And I mean, even now, like those shows that they're doing with Converge and Sumac make perfect sense for them. Like that's a pretty solid tour.
For sure. Sumac's sick, man. I didn't realize it till because I've always been a huge ISIS fan, but I didn't realize that they were like as rocking as they are. I thought they were going to be a little bit more like ISIS-y, I guess is the way you put it. But it's pretty cool. It's sweet shit.
Yeah, it took me a few listens to like really get into their first album, but by the time their last album came out, man, I was like, oh man, yeah, this is like I see what they're doing now. Like I get it a little bit more.
Yeah, for sure.
But actually, that reminds me something about this Gaza record is like there's some pretty long songs on there, and they don't feel like it. There's like some 6-7 minute songs, and it's just like I felt like that was only 2 minutes long. Like it's just so full of fury, you know. Whereas like you listen to a Sumac song that's 10 minutes, and you're like, yeah, that's 10 minutes. That was pretty long.
That feels like 10 minutes. Yeah, that song, No Absolute Human Suffering, that's like a 10-minute long song, and he says that the entire time, and it does like I don't ever switch it. Like I don't ever go like, all right, I get it, you know. The whole time I'm going like, God damn, this is still heavy.
Yeah.
Even in like earbuds, not like a big, thumping system. Like I'll be listening to it at the gym. Like the whole time I'm like pumped, you know.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't end on a low note, which is good. It ends on like a really high note, I think, with that record for sure. Yeah. And that was a hard record. Like if you think about too, like 2012, man. Maybe this was just me, but I felt like that was a pretty like stagnant year in music. Like there wasn't a whole lot of like really good stuff out in that year. But
I can't even think of like a record that came out that year. What?
Yeah, exactly.
Did anything?
I'm sure there was something big, but like it's hard to say, man. It was like a weird year, you know, because like, I mean,
I'm sure like Black Dahlia Murder put out a record that year, but everything Black Dahlia Murder puts out is phenomenal, and it seems like they put out something like literally every single year.
Yeah, I think it couldn't have been because Ritual came out in 2011, so that would have just been out like the year prior.
Yeah,
I remember because I was like in love with Ritual.
Yeah, that record was sweet. I think Nocturnal still to this day is the best thing that, in my opinion, they've ever done.
Yeah.
And then I fucking love the most recent record.
Yeah, I kind of I listened to it a few times, and I don't know what it is, man. Like, their past few records, like, they're good, but, like, they quickly go out of my rotation for whatever reason. I don't know why.
Really?
Yeah, it's weird.
They're fast, man. They've always had this, like, really steady speed.
Mm-hmm.
And these last two records, I know the drummer is like a fucking machine. We played a couple festivals with him in Europe, and I was like just dazzled at how fast that guy was playing and how hard he was hitting. It's insane to see some of these dudes, you know, playing 260, 300 BPM shit, and their sticks are fucking flying, you know, like a foot off the snare, and they're still able to play that shit.
Yeah, that's one thing Black Dahlia Murder's always been lucky with, is their drummers are like fucking insane machines.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So I'm looking at stuff that came out in 2012. Like, the only things that really stick out to me are a Cannibal Corpse record that came out, Aborted.
Was that Gormageddon?
It was Global Flatline.
So I was a Gormageddon guy. That's my favorite Aborted record for sure.
Meshuggah came out that year. That's right. Yeah, Colossus.
Oh, was that Bleed?
Bleed came out in fucking 2008 or Obscene.
Really?
Yeah, Obscene. Yeah, it's that one's celebrating a 10-year, man. That's crazy to me.
Obscene came out 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Look, man, I'm going to see that tour that's coming up with it's like Tooth Grinder and Code Orange, and it's crazy. They're going to sell out the biggest venue in Portland outside of like the Coliseum, you know, where like the Portland Trailblazers play.
Damn.
It's fucking awesome, man, to see that like metal has that kind of pull. Granted, it's only like a few metal bands, but like Meshuggah is one of them, and they're doing it.
Dude, that's what was crazy to me, seeing those Dillinger Escape Plan final shows. Like, the fact that they had anywhere from 2,000 to 3,000 people in that venue for 3 nights in a row is fucking insane.
Yeah, they did 2 nights in a row?
They did 3 nights in a row. I only went to 2 of the nights, though.
Oh, shit, that's sick.
Dude, it was crazy.
Yeah, the last Dillinger show was in Portland, was at a bar called Dante's.
Wow.
And yeah, it's one of the few venues in Portland where they do like burlesque and like flame twirling and shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think a buddy of mine, I don't know if he's telling the truth or not, but he said that there was like fire and shit, which that would have been badass to be able to see Dillinger with like the fire and shit.
Yeah, I believe it, man. I've seen pictures of Greg doing like the fire and fire breathing and shit, so I believe it.
That is, dude, like, can you imagine doing that over like a like a 10-year period where you're going like, well, tonight may or may not be the night.
Oh,
like,
man.
This could end real fucking bad, especially considering how spastic not only the fans are, but the band is. Like, that dude, that band got real lucky over the years getting away with that stuff. I would imagine that's probably why they weren't allowed to do it or at least in so many places. But
yeah,
you know, it's still just thinking like, dude.
Yeah, pyro is a hard one to get like the go ahead to do, because a lot of places are like, nah, that's not up to fire code. Like, we don't want to burn our place down.
Dude. Yeah, like I'm not a big fan. Like, you would think I'd probably be into like real gore. Like, I like horror movies and shit like that a lot. Like, I'm a horror freak, but like the Faces of Death shit, like, I can't do that shit. And like I tried to watch that Great White video where the building burnt down, and man, I can't do it, man. Like, that was so disturbing to me. That fucked me up for like days.
Yeah,
so I can only imagine, you know, what somebody coming to somebody coming to like a, you know, a 5 to 800 cap venue saying like, hey, we got some pyro we're going to use. Yeah, you can go fuck yourself, because that ain't going to fly here. I wouldn't let that happen ever. But
yeah, that was a really crazy. I mean, given like the Great White thing wasn't like the best circumstances because they overcrowded that venue, but I mean, even then, like,
yeah,
whoever greenlit that was like fucking dumb.
Yeah, dude, they lit off, like, it looks like they lit off fucking fireworks in the venue. I mean, it doesn't even look like pyro. It looks like goddamn. It looks like they took like Roman candles and put them on like an igniter and launched them, and we're like, no, this would be cool. I don't know. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings or anything like that.
Yeah.
Talking about such a horrible thing.
Yeah, so, it's definitely unfortunate, but yeah, it was probably a lot of bad calls involved in that, which is very, very unfortunate.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, shit, let's go to the next one, man. What do you want to talk about now?
For sure. Let's
see. We got Wormwood, Somewhere Along the Highway, and Evangelion.
We can do Cult of Luna. Okay,
yeah, dude.
Yeah, Cult of Luna, man. Somewhere Along the Highway. I'm a huge Cult of Luna fan, but without a doubt, that is by far my favorite record by them. It is the perfect record to drive to.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, it's called Somewhere Along the Highway. It's, you know, it's big long tours. Most of the time, you're driving at night, or at least my band does. We choose to drive at night because it's just safer, man. Like, there's less people on the road. You know, as long as you have like a safe, designated driver, you know, you're gonna make so much more time, and it's gonna be so much more fuel efficient because you're just not stopping and starting the whole time because of traffic. So this was like my go-to, and still is my go-to when I'm doing any sort of like night driving. I'll throw this on, and it just like pumps me through miles of driving, because it's a long record too. But it doesn't feel like a really long record, even though it's got like a little bit of a drone to it, because it's full and powerful the whole time.
Yeah, I mean, it is an hour long, but listening to it kind of like, it doesn't really make it seem like an hour. You know, whereas like most records clock in at like 30, 40 minutes nowadays, usually, unless it's a band like this. But even having the patience to want to sit down and listen to something for an hour is pretty rare. But if you're driving and you have those long ass trips, like, this doesn't feel like an hour at all. It's just like, oh damn, that was it. Like, it's done. Yeah. Even when I was listening to it over the past couple of days, when you brought it up, I was just like working on some art, and I was like, fuck, it's done already? I was like, damn, I was in the groove there for that little hour, man. Yeah. It was nice.
Yeah, for sure. It's just good to, like, that record's good for all sorts of styles of, like, what you're doing at the time. You can do art to it. I've definitely drank whiskey in the cold to it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've driven to it. It's just, it's great for all sorts of stuff. Probably not going to want to party to it, like real party to it.
Yeah, that'd be a pretty depressing party.
Yeah, if it's you and a buddy and you're, you know, playing fucking Risk or something like that, or, you know, playing some video games or something like that, you can throw that shit on or something like that. It's perfect for that vibe.
I feel like too, like, not just this record, but pretty much their whole discography, man. Like, each of their albums has like this different mood to it. I will admit, I was super late into the game getting into these guys. I didn't get into them until Vertical came out. But goddamn, once I heard Vertical, I went back and, like, you know, checked out their whole discography. And even up until, you know, a couple years ago when they put out the album with Julie Christmas, I was like, man, that was a big kind of like, not necessarily a risk, but an interesting like direction to take with the band, and it was phenomenal, I think. But I mean, even with this album, it gets a lot of weird like criticisms on the way it was recorded, because it was very like raw sounding, because like I guess they recorded it in a barn with all these like weird acoustics, and they just did everything live. But I think that gives this album like a good amount of its like feeling, you know, because the way it was recorded, it just kind of goes into the way the songs sound, and it sounds fucking full. That's the one thing I like about this record too.
Yeah, that's weird. I wouldn't have expected that it was recorded so lo-fi, because I think a big reason why I like this album so much is because I do like the kind of droney stuff. Like I love ISIS and I love Yob and all that shit, but production quality on a lot of that style of music is generally pretty lo-fi.
Yeah.
And for some reason, that maybe it's just the way that my ear works, because everybody's ear is a little bit different. That record just sounds fucking incredible to me.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, man. That's one of the things that I don't get. Like, that's a weird criticism that people give it, but it sounds really, like, I agree, it sounds really good.
Yeah, maybe my next I Declare War record, I need to record it in a barn or something.
Have you heard of Mouth of the Architect?
Yeah.
Okay.
Aren't they? Wait.
It's very similar.
I think I've heard them.
Yeah, it's kind of like Cult of Luna-ish. It's like kind of, you know, long, droney, very drawn-out songs. A little bit more harsh vocals than Cult of Luna uses sometimes, but
okay.
Yeah, immediately when I was listening to this album, it reminded me of them, and I was like, oh man, I bet Jamie would be into them.
Yeah, maybe I'm thinking. I think I'm thinking Becoming the Archetype.
Oh yeah, way different band there.
Way different band. Yeah, when you initially said it, I was like, I mean, I've heard them, but I think that they have a lot in common.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
When I lived in Tennessee for a long time, and Becoming an Archetype was like kind of a pseudo local band, like because they were from Nashville, I think. And I lived in Chattanooga, and them and Whitechapel were like basically local bands for me, because they would always come and play Chattanooga. And it was such a weird two different types of bands. Like, you know, Becoming the Archetype was a little more like straight up metalcore, and then you had Whitechapel, which was like the beginning of like the whole deathcore thing, if you want to call it that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's funny when you see like the beginnings of bands. You know, like when you like the early tours for like some of the bands that are massive now, you know, like or like local shows that you saw people on, where you're just like, wow, that did not make any sense, but I'm glad that I saw that, because you'll never ever see anything like that from that band again. They'll never play with, you know, that like that screamo band and that death metal band will never play again. But since our scenes were so small at the time, we threw everybody on the same bill, because that was what brought kids together, you know, that kind of shit.
It was before everything got super flooded. Like MySpace hadn't really hit big yet, and so you were seeing like all those random tours that was just like, hey, metal's metal, go see a bunch of bands. Like, who gives a fuck if they don't sound the same?
Yeah. Like my old band was like a kind of technical sort of death metal band, and we would play with that band It Prevails a lot. It Prevails, and we would play with American Me a lot, like two like hardcore, like straight up hardcore bands. Because we were the two bands in the area that were, you know, always pretty solid draws, and kids would always come out and see us, and it just always worked. So we would always play together, but it made no sense.
Yeah, I remember American Me. I haven't listened to them in a long time, because you did a guest vocal spot on one of their albums, right?
I've done a guest vocal spot on, I think, 3 records now.
Oh shit.
Yeah, Tony's like a longtime friend. most all those guys are like longtime friends. I'm actually in a side project with the drummer, and it's a small town.
Yeah,
there's not really many options, so he just keeps bringing me back.
What's the side project called?
It's called Sacrificer.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like kind of, I guess, straightforward death metal stuff.
Oh, hell yeah.
Kind of sounds like if you want to label it, kind of like Black Dahlia Murder-ish, Behemoth sort of stuff, but with my vocals.
Okay. So it'll still be angry as fuck.
Yeah. We put an EP out a couple years ago, and we're kind of just like starting to write again. So we'll see. Shit comes out when it comes out.
Yeah, I think it's the best way to take things nowadays, man. Because it seems like some bands just want to like rush shit out there, and it's like, maybe just take some time, man. Like, don't worry about that album cycle thing that a lot of bands worry about.
Yeah.
If it's not coming to you, then fuck it.
I'm like, with I Declare War, that's kind of where I've started to go. It's just, I got off the record label that I was on, and I basically just decided, John Winters, the guy that plays guitar, he writes almost everything for the band now.
Mm-hmm.
He and I just decided, like, let's just do shit the way that we want to do it, in the time period that we want to do it in, and just, like, put shit out when it comes out. Like, no real fucking deadlines, no anything that's going to, like, stress us out, because when it really boils down to it, man, being in a band is not about, like, being stressed out about a deadline. You do deadline shit at your, like, day job.
Yeah.
You know? Like, leave the fun part of your life to be fun. And for a long time, I Declare War was just like, we got to get shit done on this time period. We got to tour as hard as we can. You know, it was kind of like soul sucking for a little while. And John and I just decided, fuck it. We're just we put Songs for a Sick out when we wanted to put it out, and it was as long as we felt like we wanted to put it out for. And we're gonna put an EP out now, hopefully this year, and it's gonna be. It might be 4 songs. It might be 6 songs. I don't know. We're just gonna kind of go for it.
Yeah, I kind of remember too, man, like when Songs for a Sick came out, like there was like, I barely remember hearing about it. And then all of a sudden it was like, hey, this record's out. And I was like, oh, fuck. Like, where the hell did that come from? Like,
yeah. I mean, it's definitely like, to be totally honest, that was, we did that, we decided to drop our record label. So we didn't have like the publishing push. We barely had a manager at the time. We don't really have a manager now because I can deal with all that shit myself because I've been, doing this shit long enough.
Yeah.
But I have some good friends in the industry that help me out from time to time, and John and I just decided, let's just write and record the record ourselves. Let's do everything ourselves. Let's pay for it ourselves. And we did, and it's been the best decision that we've ever made. Like, this is the first time I've ever seen a royalty check for music.
Wow.
Like, music that I've created was because I just said, fuck it. Like, John he has a I might be over talking right now when I say he has a master's degree in audio engineering, but he works for like a symphony and shit in Seattle. Like, the dude knows what he's doing with audio engineering. So he tracked the record. I took the record to this guy named Stefan Hawk, who I've done most of my shit with, to record my vocals, and then he mixed and mastered the record, and we did it all ourselves. Like, outside of the mixing and mastering and tracking of my vocals, like, it was all us, all the publicity, all the ground roots shit that we did was John and I, and it might have slipped under the radar for a lot of people, but it's paid off for us because we're happier, and we're cutting a check for ourselves every single month for it, and it feels fucking great.
That's good to hear, man, because I know a lot of bands take like a huge risk sometimes when they're like putting stuff out on their own, but also at the same time you're hearing more and more about how it's actually working out better for the bands. I mean, I think the first band that I really heard that it worked really well for, I mean, given they're huge, but Day to Remember, when they got out Victory and then put out their own record, and they were like, yeah, it was the best fucking decision we could have ever made.
Oh, dude, it's like, I can only imagine, because just those guys, between the Twitter and Instagram and stuff that all those guys have, all their social media presences,
yeah,
they can basically do that shit themselves. Like Limp Bizkit put out a record a couple of years ago, and everybody was kind of like bitching about like, oh yeah, it only did 55,000 first week or something like that, and I'm going like, dude, it did 55,000 first fucking week, and they didn't have anybody helping them except for fucking Fred Durst on his Twitter account, you know, and like the members of the band, and then the fans just like getting the word out there. That's insane.
Yeah, and if you look at how much record sales have diminished over the years, like that's a pretty goddamn good number.
Yeah. I mean, granted, it's Limp Bizkit.
Yeah.
Like they're fucking huge, but you know, they've taken a bit of a hit over like the last like 10 years, and they can still do numbers like that without any sort of like a record label putting hundreds of thousands of dollars into them. And you know, depending on what sort of deal they had, they could have ended up in like a 360 deal where they would have had to give it all back anyways. And if I'm gonna do this shit and I'm gonna pump as much time into it as I do, I need to make something off of it, man, because I'm not getting any younger. You know, like I can see how some bands do it for the love and shit like that, but I got a nice house. Like I live, me and my old lady, we got a nice place, and we do that and we make that happen because I work my ass off with my 3 other jobs that I have, and then I also make a little bit of scratch from the band.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I think that's the thing a lot of people don't realize too. I kind of talked about this a little bit on the last episode. You know, you guys are out there the ones that are busting your asses every day on the road. Not to mention, like, if you have other jobs at home, and people that are going to see your shows aren't even fucking thinking about that. Like, they're only seeing you on stage shout or play your guitar, and that's it. And it's like, no, man, they're juggling so much other shit that you just don't realize, which is good. I mean, you know, there definitely needs to be like that little bit of separation, but it should also be known that, like, yeah, man, like people have to side hustle too sometimes, depending on like where they're at in I guess, I don't know a good way to put it, but like being like a bigger level band or not big level band, to put it in layman's terms, you know?
Yeah, no, like there obviously needs to be a barrier. Like I probably shouldn't tell people, oh yeah, like I'm a security guard at a bar. Like, but when it really boils down to it, like, I'm a security guard at a bar. That's how I make most of my living.
Yeah.
I make a little bit of money from playing music too, which is the fucking dream. And then on top of it, I'm lucky enough that I get to travel to Europe and do it in Europe, and, you know, do it in Australia and go see all these cool ass places. We went to Spain and just did one show in Barcelona. Like,
Holy
how
fuck.
fucking cool is that? I stayed three extra days and basically just like got a free vacation because I was able, because I'm in a band.
Yeah.
That shit's badass, you know. But yeah, I'm not making any money off that 3-day vacation, so I gotta work when I'm at home, and you know.
I mean, the good thing
do it.
about the music, though, too, man, is like doing that is partly what keeps you sane when you have to like kind of do those extra jobs just to also be able to do the music as well.
Oh, dude, for sure. I don't know if I have like a genuine condition at this point, but like I've been screaming in metal bands for so long that I go through like withdrawals where I'll get bummed out because I haven't like jammed.
Yeah.
And almost specifically because I haven't like been able to like get my outlet out in most of the bands that I'm in by like screaming my ass off for, you know, a half hour to 2 hours, depending on, you know, how long the practice is or like how long the show is, something like that. Like it's an outlet, man. Like it makes me feel good, you know?
Yeah, and that's what matters. I mean, I even get that a little bit too, even just having like done merch for a band. It's like I fucking miss doing even that little small amount of shit, and it's like every now and then I'm like, oh man, it's been so long.
You're out there. Our merch guy Charles, I give him a lot of shit, but you know, he goes home and he works a grinding ass job, and then when we go on tour, he gets to enjoy the benefits of being on tour.
Yeah,
just as much as we do.
Yeah, it is nice.
Yeah.
So
I digress.
No, it's all good, man. This is great. I love when like all of our conversations can kind of just like go wherever they go. It's fun, and then talk about music in between.
Yeah.
So, Wormwood or Evangelion?
We can do Behemoth.
Okay.
Yeah, that dude. I mean, I've always been a huge Behemoth fan, but I'm gonna go on record right now and say I think this is the perfect death metal record.
I can't disagree with you. It's
fucking perfect, man. Like as far as time goes, it's not too long, it's not too short. It has some fast, like some insane fast stuff. It has some technicality. It has the darkness. Like everything about it is just, it's awesome. Like the first time I heard this record, I mean, I'd been a fan for years, but this record just like, it was just, it was perfect. I knew it was perfect.
It was definitely a very welcomed, I don't want to say, not update, but it was definitely better than the Apostasy.
I really love the Apostasy. So I had pretty low standards going into it because I didn't figure that much shit was ever going to be as like hard hitting as Apostasy was.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, like literally from the first track all the way to the very end, that defining morality of Black God, that last track. Or wait, no. Is that not the last track?
No, the last track is Lucifer. Oh wait, are you talking about the Apostasy?
No. Evangelion.
Okay, yeah. That's the second to last track.
Yeah. And like everything on that record, it just hits. A Fire in the Void, like that. The first time I heard that single, because I think that was the first single they put out for that record. Like I was like, damn, this is like different, but it is sick. And they took risks, especially, you know, because they came from a very strict traditional black metal sound.
Yes.
And like slowly over like what feels like 15 records, just like morphed into this machine of like black metal and death metal, and you can't really tell where one starts and the other one ends, and it's just like it doesn't matter. Like you can be a fan of just black metal and you're gonna fucking be into this record, and you can be a fan of just death metal and you're gonna be into this record, and if you say you're not into it, you're lying to yourself, because this record, it's badass.
Yeah, and dude, it's crazy because by this point in time, like you're not far off with the number. This was their 9th album at this point.
Yeah.
So like that slow evolution of getting out of that like generic, well, I won't say generic, but just like the cliche black metal.
Let's be honest. Like
they definitely did the lo-fi thing.
I'm gonna catch some shit here, but like most black metal is pretty fucking generic. Like a lot of it sounds the same.
I agree.
I know,
and I love black metal.
I know I shouldn't say that. I do too. I like black metal. I don't love black metal, but I like black metal. And, you know, a lot of that shit that's just like lo-fi, that has that same chord, it all just kind of blends together. And I know I shouldn't say that because I'm going to get a bunch of people saying, like, well, fuck this guy. He doesn't know what true black metal is. But, I mean, I listen to it, you know.
But that's...
Like, I enjoy it, but this shit, it was just like, it was like a different level. Like, they found how to bridge the gap, and they did it better than anybody has ever done it.
Yeah, and, you know, it's kind of weird that a lot of the people that, like, really like that true black metal, like, how they won't even really listen to anything else. So I kind of feel like, in a way, their opinion is a little bit invalid. Like, if you're not going to really give something a chance to listen to it,
yeah,
fuck that.
And like, there's a part of me, like, whenever I hear people like that, I'm like, dude, you don't even like this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. You know? And that's
like,
the thing. If you don't like it, then...
even...
Yeah.
No, but you, like, they don't even like the black metal shit. They just want to be the guy that's like, that's that, you know, that's into, like, black metal. Like, all I listen to is black metal. Like, that guy, it's exhausting. You know what I mean? And I know people like that, where it's like, dude, like, you don't just listen to black metal. Like, I know you have a couple Foo Fighters records or some shit that you throw on every once in a while to, like, beat out the monotony of, like, blast beats and, like, pop can guitar sound.
Yeah.
You know?
I couldn't listen to just that all on its own, man. It eventually it all starts to sound the same, and, like,
yeah.
While I admire people upholding, like, that tradition of black metal, just like some bands, like, uphold, like, generic thrash metal stuff, I cannot listen to it all the time. But it's cool that people do that. Yeah,
good. You know, I sometimes I talk a little shit, but, you know, good on them. You know, that's the beauty of music. A palette is a palette. You know, everybody's palate's a little different. If you can handle listening to that all the time, then so be it.
Yeah.
That's what you're into. I just like a little bit of diversity in my life. Like, I can't even sit down and listen to death metal all day. You know, I have to switch it up. Like, I have to listen to, like, Manchester Orchestra or some whiny rock and roll shit for a little while, just to, like, chill out.
Yeah, you know? Same here, man. Like, after a few hours, it's like, all right, palate cleanser, what can I listen to?
Yeah.
Lately, like...
I've
go ahead.
Especially when you're on tour, dude, and all you hear is, like, 4 hours of blast beats a night, and,
man.
Like, 808 sub-drops and breakdowns and, like, distorted riffs, and then all you want to do is just, like, stop and just listen to some Elliott Smith for, like, a half an hour. Just give me for like 2 years, a rule in the van after we left a venue was 15 minutes of Creedence Clearwater.
Hey,
every single night.
I'm down with that.
After we got done playing, it's just we have 15 minutes of Creedence, and then after that you can put on whatever you want to put on, but 15 minutes of Creedence Clearwater, because it's like a palate cleanser. It chills everyone out, and it just kind of makes you feel good. Even if you had, like, a good or a bad show, you just feel good after you listen to Creedence.
Yeah, I agree. That's always, like, a good one to put on. We'll definitely get back to Evangelion. I'm not going to let this go, but what are some other, like, kind of non-metal bands that you kind of dig in between, like, all the madness of metal?
I mean, I listen to a lot of, like, I'll listen to just about anything rock related. Like, I like rock. I'm not a huge rap guy. I listen to some, like, hip hop, but it's more like, I guess it'd be like smarter hip hop. I don't know.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I love Conor Oberst. it's not cool to say, but I love Conor Oberst, I love Bright Eyes, love Elliot, like the singer-songwriter guys. This guy named Vekish Kapoor, he's got that kind of same vibe to him that Conor Oberst and Elliott Smith had, where it's like singer-songwriter stuff. And then, you know, like I listen to the classics. Like, I fucking love Bruce Springsteen and Tom Petty, all that shit. Like, I don't know, man. It's just, the classics just, they never go away, you know? You have your entire life. I've been on this like mega Led Zeppelin kick lately, where I've listened to a lot of Led Zeppelin lately.
What have you kind of like, what got you sucked into it in the first place? Like, what was that thing that you were just like, man, I really want to listen to this a lot more now?
I don't know. I mean, like, I've always been a huge Zeppelin fan, like always. But I'll go years without listening to Zeppelin. Zeppelin's one of those bands where, like, I feel like you can take, like, several years off and then come back to it and you're like, God damn, this is still good.
Yeah.
You know? And granted, that makes sense because they are arguably top 5 greatest rock bands of all time. You know, they put that together the way they did, and it's worked out. But yeah, like bands like Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon, that's probably my favorite record ever. You know, like I just find these. How do I say this? I find something about these records that I love, and it just, for some reason, it just sticks, you know. And I'll hear something or I'll see something, and I'll go like, oh shit, maybe I should go listen to that record again because it's been a little while.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's always interesting to me, the thing that like tips off like why you want to get back into like an older artist. And the reason like I wanted to ask this because it was like, I was talking to somebody else about this, you know, like, you know, how these bands last for so long, and what's going to be the next band that's going to last as long, you know, as like Bowie or Led Zeppelin or Creedence and stuff like that. And I was talking to them because this year, for whatever reason, man, I got like really back into Queen. And the only reason it happened is because like me and my friends were watching their music videos, and the music video for I Want to Break Free came on, and I was like, this video is so ridiculous and so subversive for its time, and I was just like kind of blown away that like how crazy like Freddie Mercury was, and I just got sucked into this like Queen wormhole, and then it just like delved out from there to like other bands that like I just wanted to go back and listen to around that era.
Yeah, is there a better singer ever than Freddie Mercury?
Nope, absolutely not.
I think that I think you're right, man.
I watched their Live Aid concert they did in '85, and it is insane to see how he just commands that crowd and just goes off for like an hour and never ever breaks like vocally. It's just like perfect.
Yeah.
Man.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they're doing a bio doc, and I'm fired up for it. The guy that did he does that robot show.
Oh yes,
Mr. Robot.
Yeah.
Mr. Robot. Yeah, he's playing Freddie Mercury, and I've seen a couple photos of him as Freddie Mercury. And it's crazy,
dude. Like, I completely agree. I saw those same things, and I was like, holy shit. Yeah. Like, because, you know, I don't know if you remember, they were talking about, like, Sacha Baron Cohen playing Freddie Mercury. And I was like, all right, I can see that.
It would have been cool, and he looks like Freddie Mercury, but he's also, like, 6'6".
Yeah, he's
Freddie Mercury was like 5'5".
Yeah.
Like, he was a little tiny guy. You can't have Freddie Mercury being, like, a foot taller than everybody in the band. You know, so it wouldn't have made a lot of sense unless they would have done some film tricks to constantly have him where he was shorter than everybody in the band.
Yeah, and I bet that would have looked pretty odd too. You would have been kind of like, something's off here.
It would have looked a little unusual, but yeah, man. I don't know. I just there's something about the classics, man. Like I grew up on Tom Petty. I remember listening to Tom Petty, and in the family Jeep as a kid, and all the way up until his death, I listened to that same record. He's one of the dudes that, like, to me, like, as far as longevity goes, he did it right. Like, he never really, like, there was never really like a breakup, because he was Tom Petty, obviously.
Yeah.
And I think he kept the same band like the entire time that he toured, which is insane, because you hear about so many of these big stars and stuff like that, or even guys on my level, me included. You can't keep guys because they either have families, or there's financially you can't support it, or you don't get along with each other. It just makes it hard. And granted, he's on a significantly larger level, so his band had it was like basically like you hit the jackpot if you're in Tom Petty's band, because you're guaranteed good work for the rest of your life. You just gotta like chill out and be like cool, I would imagine Tom Petty wasn't very hard to work with.
Yeah, he never really gave that vibe that he was like, even though he was really big, like he never had that vibe of like, oh, I'm a massive rock star, the ego thing. He never really seemed to have that. But yeah, R.I.P.
Yeah,
man, that was a bummer. Fucking, he's alive, then he's dead, then he's alive, and it's like, fuck, man. Just
it's happening, man. Like the big ones they're gonna start going.
I know.
Like the real important ones. I'm so scared for Ozzy. That's the one that freaks me out. Is once he goes, it's gonna be hard.
I feel like Ozzy's gonna live to be pretty old, man. You always hear those stories about those guys that like go hard and they just live till they're like 90 something. I think that'll be Ozzy.
Yeah. Knock on wood. I really hope you're right, man.
Yeah.
He is the greatest. Everything he's ever done is the greatest, including his TV shows. Like, it's just, it's insane. He's the man.
Fuck. Yeah, that's...
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Back to Evangelion.
Yeah.
We're going to digress here, guys. It's all good, though. Hopefully you're all down with the conversations. Actually, this is good, because we were talking about record sales earlier, especially with, like, Limp Bizkit and stuff. When I was looking up shit for this, man, apparently, like, Evangelion sold more units in 2 months than Apostasy did over 2 years.
Yeah.
Which is huge.
Yeah, I think at one point it was like the number one record in Poland for like several months. Like granted, it's Poland. Like, it's a pretty small country. There's not a whole lot of options for like new uprising star, like at least internationally known stars. So.
Yeah, it is definitely really hard to do that transition of like, hey, we're a Polish band, listen to us.
Yeah. I actually just kind of out of curiosity, how do you feel about the Decapitated?
Okay, so it's really funny because when we were doing our end of year list, I declared like right up front, I was like, "Fuck Decapitated!" Like they're off the map. So I do feel
off snap still.
I do feel a little bit hypocritical because that's just human nature. It happens. I do think there's some weird things with the case.
Dude, that's not something that you need to feel hypocritical about. Like those are serious allegations, man, and that shit that needs to be taken seriously. But
it bothers me because there's a lot of vicious people online just like talking mad shit about this girl, and I think that's completely unwarranted. Just because these guys are in a band, they get a pass. Which I'm not saying that they did anything, because nobody knows except for the people that were fucking there, and that's all we're ever gonna know. It's really serious stuff. I thought it was really fucking gross. I remember talking to Scott at one point, and I was like, man, what is it about like every band that we tour with like them going to jail in some way, shape, or form after we tour them. Because we did As I Lay Dying, and then 6 months later, like fucking Tim's in jail, and then we did Decapitated in 2010, and now like that shit happened, and I don't know, because even then, like I was thinking back of like when we toured with them, man, they were pretty subdued. Like they weren't big partiers, they weren't like going crazy every night, at least from what we saw. They seem like pretty chill dudes, but also I know the other side of that too, about the girls that are trying to hook up with dudes in bands, and it's very predatory on both sides, like not just the girls but the dudes in bands too. So it's like at least the ones that don't have girlfriends, So while I am glad that they got cleared of the charges, there still is some like weird sticky stuff that they can potentially still be charged at any point in time if the girl changed her mind. So I don't know. I mean, innocent until proven guilty. They were not proven guilty, so it is what it is right now. As far as what I know about them, they're okay dudes, but it was a very unfortunate situation, whatever happened that night, and I know they're probably never going to tour America again. That's probably a definite.
Oh, dude. If I was in their situation, there is absolutely no way I would ever get an American stamp in my passport ever again.
Yep.
It's just no way. You don't hear. Granted, we don't hear a lot about what's going on overseas, but you don't hear about allegations and stuff like that happening anywhere else in any other part of the world besides the United States for the most part.
That's true. Especially this past year, man, it's just been nonstop, and it's like, well, fuck, who's next? It's like, damn, man.
Yeah, who's next? And it's tough for those dudes too, because they've kind of drawn a shitty stick over the last few years.
Yeah,
the Vitek, their drummer dying, and then didn't they get into like a bus accident or something like that in between that as well?
Yeah, and their singer, he had like brain damage and shit, so he is like a vegetable basically, which is really fucking sad.
Jesus Christ! Like, those guys have just been dealt a card.
Yeah,
I'm not a believer in karma, but like, fuck, man, like those guys got to have something good coming to them.
And especially too, man, they were so young when they started that band. They were all like 18, 19 years old. I think even one of them was like 17 at the time. Like, they were really young. So it's like, what could they have possibly done that was so bad that they just keep having all this bad shit happen to them?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, karma, I guess, is kind of bullshit. So you can't really, you put yourself in a bad situation. Sometimes bad things happen, but I honestly, I can't give you an answer either way on how I feel about the situation. I think it's probably not. I mean, it's a death sentence, at least in the States.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if they were acquitted. Same thing with Gaza.
Yeah.
That's a fucking death sentence, man. Like, that band never recovered from the shit that went down with the singer, and then after they broke up, all allegations were like the person came out and basically said like I made that up,
Yeah, and it was kind of unfortunate too. Like, the timing of it was right when that album was coming out, and I mean, I'm glad you brought this up, because I was gonna address it at some point. I was like, hey, guys, I'm a hypocrite. Like, I talk shit about it, and now it's like, well,
no, dude, it's human nature, and it's something that you should do.
Yeah,
you should as a good person denounce anyone ever that has any sort of sexual misconduct charges put forth.
Yeah, and especially in the metal scene, man. Like, we already get a bad enough rap with like satanic imagery and evil and bad stuff, and it's like, well, we don't need sexual shit piled on that, you know, like Hollywood's bad enough. Let them fucking deal with it.
Right.
Not that people need to deal with it, but or, you know, be a victim of it, but yeah, Hollywood's getting blown up. I'm kind of blown away that like the hip hop world hasn't really taken a hit yet, or maybe I'm just so out of that world that they have, you know, started taking a hit. But you know, with all with the imagery and stuff that comes with hip hop, you would think that that'd be a more commonplace. But maybe that's kind of just something that's like, you know, it's known, like sexuality is something that's going to be warranted. You know, there is one thing I've noticed with hip hop, like sexual allegations, and it's like they'll get accused of shit and then nothing ever happens. That's the one thing that I noticed, and it's like, why do none of those people ever get charged or put in jail? Like, it's kind of weird to me, like why it seems they get away with it, or maybe we just don't hear about the ones that don't get away with it, you know, like, but it's something I've noticed over the past couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, I genuinely don't even have any real thought of a good answer for you, just because I'm so out of that world.
Yeah,
like, it's a totally different world. But I mean, you said it. The reason why metal is getting such bad rap for it is because, you know, we're an easy target. We're Satan-loving, horror movie lyricking psychopaths that barf into microphones. You know, we're an easy target, and we're a niche target too. So the niche people are just naturally weirdos. You know.
Yeah.
When you're a part of the masses, you can just kind of blend into the masses.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird double standard, I think, but maybe that's just me.
I definitely can't disagree, but fuck it, man. What can you do?
It
is what it is. I'm gonna keep listening to death metal and fucking mosh pit and, you know, do all that shit, and they can do whatever they do.
Yeah, it's definitely something I try to take with a grain of salt with some bands, like if they have like ties to Nazi stuff or like anything like that. I'll look into it a little bit more just to make sure, because like I don't want to give them any of my money per se.
Yeah.
But I will say, you know, like obviously like Varg from Mayhem is like, he's a huge racist piece of shit. Everybody knows it. He has tons of YouTube videos like putting it out there.
Wait, Varg Vikernes?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, he's in Burzum.
Burzum, yeah, you're right. Sorry, my bad.
Yeah.
I don't know why I got those confused.
That guy is... It blows my mind how many people accept the fact that guy is a white nationalist, and they're just like okay with it.
Yeah.
Like he's like on that like R. Kelly level where it doesn't matter what he does, people just kind of think it's cute and they just accept it and keep going on with like listening to Burzum or like watching his stupid fucking YouTube videos. When it really boils down to it, that dude's a fucking bigot.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's not even like trying to hide it either. He's like openly that way. Yeah. But I will say, like, there is one Burzum album that I do enjoy listening to, and it's like only because it's like almost a pure instrumental album. Like there's barely any vocals on it whatsoever, and I can like just enjoy that one album and separate his bullshit from like this music. But the rest of his stuff, obviously, I'm not going to listen to. Like, I don't want to give him any of my money.
I mean, one of my favorite metal records of all time that I wasn't going to bring up because there is a bit of a past to it is Dissection's Reign Chaos.
Yeah.
Dude, that record is fucking phenomenal.
Yeah,
the lyrics, the whole fact that like he wrote it and then basically killed himself after he wrote it.
Yeah.
With the backstory, the fact that he wrote it all in jail for doing that awful shit that he did, like it's incredible. Like that record is a fucking masterpiece. But the guy who wrote it was kind of a piece of shit.
Yeah, I completely agree, man. I had a really hard decision of like putting my back patch on my jacket. I chose the Dissection one, and I was like, oh fuck, I know what I'm opening myself up to here, but I can't help it, like, because I enjoy the music that he made, and I mean, it is unfortunate, like what he did, and it's fucked up, man. But you know what? He's not getting any of that money. He's fucking dead. Like,
yeah. I mean, I had a Dissection back patch on one of my jackets too. Like, I
also kind of feel like too, people who listen to Dissection like are a little bit more aware, and they're kind of like,
I think that's kind of like that band kind of bridges the gap. Like, I'm not trying to sell anybody on Dissection, because what that dude did was a horrible thing.
Yeah.
But that, like, most people I know that are into Dissection are, actually everybody I know that's into Dissection isn't a racist, isn't a homophobe. You know, they don't have anything in them like that. And it's unfortunate that, like, he was.
Yeah.
And it fucking sucks, because dude, he wrote some good shit.
Yeah, it's like one of those things where you like give a head nod, being like, "Yeah, I know, but it's cool."
Yeah.
It's funny too, because when I was trying to explain black metal to one of my roommates at one point in time, because they're like not into metal at all. I was like, well, I can explain to you the music, or I can explain to you its very unfortunate cultural beginnings, where it was all church burnings and killing of gay people and non-white people, and it's really gross and bad, and it sucks that that's what it was, the foundation of it was built on. But it's grown so far beyond that it's always going to be a shadow on that fucking genre, like, without a doubt.
Yeah, it's. And you do have to keep in mind too that, like, especially in the beginning, it was a bunch of fucking kids.
Yes.
Like, they weren't developed yet. They had some opinions that they probably learned from their parents or from some people that they probably looked up to at some point. And if you would have given them the opportunity to think for themselves, or develop a little bit, they probably, some of them at least, I would hope, would have changed their opinions on things. But as a child, or as a young adult, a lot of the time you make some really fucking dumb decisions because it's what you think at that time. And what you think at that time, a lot of time when you're a young kid, it's not the right decision.
Yeah. I mean, I think about all the dumb shit I did or thought as a kid, and I was like, man, I'm so glad that, like, I never had like an outlet like that.
Yeah, like I still have like points in my life where, like, I'll be taking a shower, and you ever do that? Like I just have this like overwhelming, because like I'll be like thinking in the shower or something like that, like something bad will come into my memory from like the past, where I'm just like, oh, like I have to like shake it out, like I have to like almost kind of like, oh, get it out, like a dumb thing that I did. Like, why did I fucking decide to do something that's stupid,
Yeah.
And so,
all the time. Yeah, I cringe at the stuff I did when I was like 14 and 15 growing up in the South. It's like, ooh. It was. Yeah. I will say it wasn't like, I know that sounded like I was like a fucking racist or something like that, but I do remember one thing, man, that I dealt with growing up in the South is, like, because I listened to heavy metal, and especially, stuff like Behemoth and shit, man, like, I was always like on the receiving end of like that kind of shit. So it made me realize really quickly that, like, oh, I don't want to be like this.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
This is way fucking off topic, but I kind of want to share this story because it's so vivid in my brain that, like, I'll probably never forget this as long as I live. But This was like ninth grade, literally right after 9/11 happened. We got this transfer student who was from Turkey. I don't know how much you know about Turkey, but what I know about Turkey is they're not a Muslim country whatsoever. As far as I know, anyways. But my God, the amount of shit that this kid had to take in my school from all these stupid fucking rednecks was like horrifying to me. Like just calling him like, and then
terrible, man.
Yeah, it was so bad, and like that kid ended up leaving school. Thankfully he got out of there. I was like, man, good. I felt so bad for him, but it was growing up in the South sucked.
A lot of the time, all you can do in those kind of situations is be like, dude, just understand that these people are never gonna leave.
Yeah,
like they're never going. Like all you can do to tell that kid is just someday you're going to be in a better spot than most of these kids, because these kids are going to live in this fucking podunk-ass town until they die, and they're never going to change their views on things. And a lot of it is because they're lazy, and they don't want to learn, and they don't want to understand, and, fuck those guys, because they really, when it boils down to it, they don't matter, and they're never going to matter. So just be you, man. Especially when it's like all you're trying to do is be you because you're a different nationality, or you're, because you're gay, or because you're a black dude that's in a predominantly white community. Like, that's all you can do, man. Because these people, they don't matter.
Yeah, dude. That's an excellent way to look at it. I like that.
Yeah, I work at a bar that's pretty open-minded, and we have a handful of Sikh guys that come to the bar pretty regularly.
Yeah.
The shit that people say, like, oh, this fucking Muslim guy. It's like, dude, like, first of all, he's not a fucking Muslim. You don't know him, and he's done nothing to you. Like, what drove you to feel this way about a dude that you don't know anything about, that has never done anything to you? Like, you got some reevaluating to do yourself. You got to start thinking for yourself, and right now you're just like, you're on a bad track. So
yeah, I think a lot of that comes from like fear. They watch shitty news that tell them like, be afraid of this person, be afraid of this religion. And it's like, fuck, like, no, just don't watch the news. Fuck it.
Yeah, don't watch the news. Don't fucking don't listen to most radio. Like, I feel like it's everywhere now, man. You just gotta kind of embrace everyone.
Yeah, I think the world would be better that way eventually.
Yeah. I'm not a real lovey-dovey guy, but I think that it's easier to, accept everybody for who they are, and then fucking, unless you're like a total, bigot piece of shit, and then, I'm not going to go after you, but I'm not going to help you either.
Yeah, and that's fair. I would do the same thing, man.
Yeah. Anyways.
Yeah.
This is like, I feel like this is getting heavy. Are we getting spacey right now?
I mean, we definitely delved off into deep territory, but that's okay. I mean, that shit happens. Like we're still kind of relating it to music, and how things kind of unfold. So I mean, this is fucking good with me, man. That's the point of the podcast, just
right.
kind of shoot the shit.
Yeah, I'm into it.
Well, shit. Last one, then we're gonna go on to Wormwood.
Last but not least.
Yes.
Acacia Strain Wormwood. I have been a fan of this band since 3750. I heard this band when I was still in high school, and the first time I heard them, it was like 3 days before they came through Portland the first time. And it was with this band called The Breathing Process.
Hey, yeah, I remember them.
Yeah. And randomly, Bury Your Dead was also playing at the same time. So I want to say the Acacia Strain, Bury Your Dead, and The Breathing Process both played 2 nights in a row in Portland.
Damn.
I know for sure that Acacia Strain played 2 nights in a row. But that was still when they were playing with 3 guitar players, and they were playing with full stacks at the time. And I pretty much from there, I just knew I was hooked. Like, it was so different than anything that I had ever heard. Because I loved I love like Norma Jean and 18 Visions and, Throwdown and stuff like that. But like Acacia Strain is, while it's in that same kind of vein, like the early metalcore vein,
yeah,
they are the heaviest of all of anyone that's came out of that genre ever, and arguably, in my opinion, they're one of the heaviest bands ever. They write nothing but just like soul crushing heavy shit, and specifically, Wormwood was the most angry thing, the most heavy thing, and the beauty of it is how simplistically they did it. It's basically just like a down-tuned. It's got kind of like a crowbar sort of vibe to it. There's nothing really overly technical about it, but they still make it sound like furious, like something that was a little bit more technical.
Yes.
And they've been doing that for over 10 years now. Everything they put out is like that. And sonically, Wormwood is it could be one of my favorite like sounding recordings ever, because I've toured with them a couple times. I think they told me that record was all live.
Damn.
Instruments.
That's insane.
I could definitely be wrong on that. But I mean, that snare sounds nasty, man. Like, few snares will ever sound as vicious as that snare sounds, and that's such an important thing for heavy music, is like a good hard hitting snare.
Yeah, especially too, man, with like, especially since they don't really blast that often, it's more vital for them to have like that good hit when it does.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to play as low as they do, that like any faster than the way they play.
Yeah.
But the way that they do it is just, it's perfect. Beast all the way through that record. The very first, the intro track with that sample. I love how they use samples throughout most of their records. It's dark and eerie, and it kind of like warms you up, like, like, oh shit, this is gonna be big, and they don't let down, and it doesn't let down through the entire goddamn record. Ramirez, that record, fucking, it's a little faster, so you're moving quick through it. Kills Have Eyes, that shit's like banging. It's a great second track. Everything about that record's perfect.
Yeah, the one thing I've noticed, Acacia Strain, I hate to say this, is like one of my guilty pleasure bands. I don't know why I have to admit that they're a guilty pleasure, but I like Acacia Strain. I will say I was not enthused with Coma Witch that much. I didn't really like that one. And their newest one, I was like 50-50 on. Like, some of it was good, some of it was eh. But I remember when fucking Wormwood came out, man, and like, I was kind of into Continent, but at that point, like, my music had like started to shift into other stuff, so I just didn't really give Continent like the time it probably deserved it or needed. Obviously, going back now, like, Continent's fucking great. But when Wormwood came out, I was like, oh man, I haven't listened to Acacia Strain in like a long while. So I put that on, and sure enough, like, yeah, man, as soon as Beast comes up with that 8-string guitar and just that jump, 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 it's like, oh, fuck, like, this is about to get nasty.
Yeah.
And it does for, like, the whole record. It's
they opened with that song for at least one of the tours that we did, and I mean, it's like the perfect opener song, man. Like, it's just it's so heavy. And granted, you know, I come from the school of, like, that style. Like, obviously, I bite the Acacia Strain. Like, I can't, I'm not going to deny that, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that I naturally go towards that style because I'm in bands that sound like, or at least I'm in a band that sounds like that kind of.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I just, like, naturally kind of, like, move towards that sound, or at least stayed towards that sound, because I like that band. Fuck, man, 8 years before I was even in I Declare War.
Yeah.
You know, so I guess it just kind of it all kind of made sense. Why not go be in, like, a band that kind of sounds like one of your favorite bands, because I think you're going to enjoy it. And I think it's worked out pretty well, you know.
Yeah, I remember when Evan was still in the band, I was talking to him one day, and this was before, fuck, man, probably like, it was definitely before you were in the band, and they still had Huber for a little bit, and they were working on that record, and he was like, oh yeah, man, like, one of the guitar players, like, he's working on this intro track to our record, and it's supposed to be, like, as heavy as the opening to 3750, and I was like, oh, dude, that's some big shoes you got to fill there. And he's like, no, trust me, like, the way he's putting it together. Sure enough, man,
Carbom's pretty nasty.
Yeah, Carbomb is really nasty. And then sure enough, man, when that intro hits in that song, I remember showing it to my friend who's, like, not really into, like, breakdown kind of music. He was like, okay, I have to give props to that. That is, like, stupidly heavy of an opening to a record. And I was like, all right, so Evan wasn't fucking around.
Yeah, dude. That Malevolence that record crushes, man. I think the biggest reason why I love that record so much, and I was attracted to it, was the bass tone on that record.
It's full, yeah.
Oh my god, man! Like, I have still, like, there's few bands that I've ever heard that have bass tone that's is just, like, full and just meaty as that bass tone is. I think it kind of has that, like, people call it entombed core. You know that sound, like, that kind of, like, Sonic Maximizer sort of sound, but it's done on a bass, so it's just, like, crazy, like, fuzzy and just, like, beefy. I would love to have some of that bass tone on the new record.
I will tell you something that'll make you listen to a song really different. At least I can't fucking unhear it ever since I've heard it. Maybe you've picked up on it. I'm pretty sure it's the song Federal Death March. The
Federal Death Alliance?
Yeah, sorry. I'm pretty sure it's that song. I could be wrong. It's been a minute since I've listened to it. But the like, closing breakdown or whatever in the end of the song sounds like Yankee Doodle. It's like dun 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 dun. It's like, wait a minute. And I asked Evan about that once, and he was like, I know we didn't do it on purpose, but now that you say it, like, I totally fucking hear it. And I was like, God damn it. I can't unhear it now.
We don't play that song, I mean, barely ever anymore, but if I ever go to listen to the record, that's all I'm going to hear.
Yeah. I could be wrong about the song, too, though. I know it's on that record. I just can't remember exactly which one it is.
No, I think I'm pretty sure you're right. I think it's Federal Death Alliance.
Yeah, it was always funny.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So, one of the crazy things about Wormwood, man, is I was looking up, just trying to see if I could find stuff about the record, and I try to stay away from like looking at reviews because usually nothing about the record is ever in a review.
Right.
My God, were the reviews for this record so polarizing. You had one review that was just like tearing it apart at it being just like lazy piece of shit, like boring ass record, and then you have people who are like, this is angry music made to be angry, and there's nothing deeper than that, so just accept it for what it is, and it's a good heavy metal, like it's a heavy record, and that's all it needs to be.
Yeah.
And I was just like, damn, this is kind of how every one of their records, when it comes out, this is exactly the same thing that happens. It's so polarizing like that. People shitting on it for it being too simple, and people just championing it for what it is. It's just a heavy-ass record. It doesn't need to be anything more.
Yeah, I think people aren't shitting on it, you know? You're not doing it right, you know?
Yeah, that's a good point.
It really boils down to it. People like to hate, you know? Like, I'm in a band where we're polarizing. We do stuff, we say stuff, and we play stuff that's very polarizing, and Casey Strain is the perfect example of that. They play bludgeoningly heavy music to people that to an audience of people that are very niche, or niche, whatever you want to say. And you know, unfortunately, metal has become this thing where there's always an opinion, and it gets so exhausting because most of the time there doesn't need to be an opinion, man. You just turn it off. If you don't like it, just turn it off.
Yeah, but that's what I've taken to over the past few years. It's like, well, if I don't like something, then that's it. Every now and then I'll get in those moods where like I'll shit talk something a little bit, but it's like at the end of it, I'm like, well, you know what? It just wasn't for me. That's period. That's how it is.
Yeah.
I may think it's shit, but you like it, that's what fucking matters.
Yeah. Oh, man. I mean, I still remember listening to Between the Buried and the Colors for the first time and being so bummed. Like, so bummed. Because it didn't sound like Alaska. Like, it was so different. And then I listened to it again, and legitimately, the next time I listened to it, I didn't stop listening to that record. That was literally the only thing I listened to for a year. I had a bad job where I worked outside by myself all day long, and that record was in like the only thing that I listened to for seriously almost a year at least. Sometimes you gotta give shit a second chance.
Yeah, that's what happened to me with Mastodon's. Jesus Christ, I don't know why the name is slipping.
The newest
Crack the Sky. When Crack the Sky came out, I was like, nope, don't like this. It's not metal anymore. And then like,
was that pre Blood Mountain or post Blood Mountain?
It was after Blood Mountain, but Blood Mountain still had that little bit of edge to it where I was like, all right, I'm okay with this. Like, it's not quite how they used to be. But man, when Crack the Sky came out,
technical though.
It was, and I didn't realize it at that point in time because I was so used to them just kind of being like more metal, you know.
Like like a different type of. They were like a different type of metal at that, like those first couple records with Leviathan and all that shit, where it was just that shit was heavy.
Yeah, dude. You know? March of the Fire Ants. That Jesus.
Yeah. Oh my god. That record or that song specifically. I do not understand why bands haven't covered that song the way that like bands were covering like Black Hole Sun for a while. You know, like everybody had like a Paint It Black cover. Everybody had a Black Hole Sun cover. Like that song is like the next song that is going to be like the one that everyone should have as a cover because that shit is heavy. And there's a lot of room for people to like. There's a lot of room for people to be able to like kind of like make it their own a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. That's definitely like a pretty like not dense, but it's got enough room in it to where like you can you can like change things up a little bit if you need to make it sound not exactly like the original, but still a cover.
Yeah. We always talk about doing covers, but we never actually end up doing them. And I think at some point we're gonna end up doing like a cover record, and I got a handful that I'd really be excited to do, and I think that's one of them for sure.
Those are fun. I usually like cover records, like I will say the only one I actually did not enjoy recently was the Acacia Strain and Die Hard is Murder one. I don't know. Like it? No, man, I just could not get into it. But I mean, yeah, I mean,
wasn't who was that? Was that Die Hard is Murder, Fit for an Autopsy, and Acacia Strain, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What did Die Hard do again? I kind of remember it.
I remember thinking that the Acacia Strain song was the weakest song on there. The rest, like, they weren't terrible, but I was just kind of like, it is not really what I'm looking for, I guess.
Yeah, I'll have to go back and listen to it. I don't really have much of an opinion either way, because I guess I stick to records most of the time. Like I like full records. I can't do like 2 or 3 song things. It's just not enough, depending on what I'm doing. Like I can do EPs, but EPs are like, you can get like a solid 20 minutes out of that usually, or 15 minutes out of that.
Yeah, that's true.
But when it's like 5 minutes and it's over, like a Locust record or something like that, I just I can't do it.
Yeah, those can be fun every now and then, but not not all the time.
Yeah. You have to be on like crack to listen to like Daughters.
Hey, I saw Daughters. They were actually pretty good live.
Oh, hell yeah.
They opened...
Don't get me wrong. Like, what was the record after the one that was it Hell Songs or Canada Songs? That was like, the singer kind of became this like, it almost sounds like Elvis kind of.
Yeah, it was Hell Songs.
Hell Songs?
Yeah.
That shit was sick. It was just so weird that I can't sit and listen to it very much.
Yeah, that's what kind of like made me like them more. I was like, oh man, they're doing something really different that like not a lot of bands are doing, but they still keep that grind aspect. And then like their self-titled album, they went like full on into that vocal style. But when I saw them live, man, they opened up before Code Orange and they sounded phenomenal. And then Code Orange went on and it was like, this is okay. But then, you had Dillinger after that. And I was like, well, fuck everybody else. Like, but his vocals sounded great live. And I was really, because I'd never seen them before. So it was like, man, this is surprisingly really good. So I was stoked.
Did he do like half the set with like the screaming stuff and then the other half with the like singing stuff?
No, he did like all the just regular kind of singing. He didn't really scream at all. It was kind of interesting.
Wow. Yeah, it's a ballsy move. You like cut out half your fan base, because I know a lot of people really like that first record or first couple records where he just screeched.
Yeah. Okay, so I got the Depressant sessions here. So Thy Art is Murder did They Will Know Another. Acacia Strain did Sensory Deprivation. Fit for an Autopsy did Flatlining. Those are all like the original songs. And then the covers, Thy Art is Murder did Du Hast. That's the one that I hated. I'm sorry, it was not Acacia Strain. Acacia Strain did Black Hole Sun, which is pretty good. And then Fit for an Autopsy
I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Fit for an Autopsy did A Perfect Drug, which is pretty good too, because it was 9 Inch Nails. You can't really go wrong there.
Yeah.
But I remember being like, damn it, man, the original Du Hast is heavier than this version that's supposed to be heavier. It wasn't. I don't know.
It's hard to trump Rammstein. Like that band is like so serious. They don't, like, a lot of the time you don't really think of them as like being this like humongous, like, heavy band, but everywhere they go, they sell out everywhere they go, and that's some heavy shit.
Yeah,
they're playing like real heavy shit. A lot of it's like rock, but like they throw in a couple bangers.
Yeah, there's at least one or two songs on every album they do that's like really, really like into the metal, and then they do like some industrial stuff, and then they do like, you know, like rock verse chorus verse type stuff, and it's like, damn man, this band is like they figured it out, like how to do that genre hopping, I guess.
They have a song on that that opens that Nymphomaniac Part 2. Did you ever see those movies?
Oh yeah. It's been a while. Yeah, I forgot about that movie.
Super artsy.
Yeah, Lars von Trier.
Yeah. But it basically opens the second movie, and I thought that was a really ballsy move. But it's fucking heavy. Like, it's a heavy way to open a movie.
Yeah, especially for a movie that's like, it is definitely like a heavy subject matter, but also like the mood is so not that kind of music. But
right, yeah, it's like an artsy softcore.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah. But I mean, the song that they're playing I think it's called Nymphomania, so it kind of makes sense.
Oh yeah, I remember what a big deal it was when they did that music video where they were supposedly fucking porn stars, but it wasn't any of them fucking the porn stars. It was just like their faces CG'd onto the porn stars.
Yeah.
But that was like kind of right before the internet was big, so people were like freaking out about it, and I was just like,
right,
that's cool. It's shock rock, man. They're doing their thing. Like, that's normal.
I'd be curious to know what dudes like that have seen, though, you know, because they look, you know, they've probably seen some wild shit, you know.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if, I don't think that video they were doing anything, but I'm sure they've gotten to some wild situations, just being who they are and being where they're from, and how much more what's the way to put this, sexually explorative European countries are than the United States is.
Yeah, they don't have like that sexual repression like we all do here.
Yeah, there's very little taboo over there, and so I'm sure they've gotten some wild shit over the years.
Yeah, and I do think a lot of that comes across in like their music and their stage presence too. So I can definitely, I agree with your sentiment there. They've probably like seen some and done some shit.
Yeah.
So I realized too, you had one more album. It was the Norma Jean album.
Yeah, dude. Norma Jean Polar Similar.
Yeah, it's the one that came out in 2016, right?
Yeah. I slept on this record for a little while because I'm like kind of like I wouldn't say I'm a fringe Norma Jean fan, because for a while that was like, dude, that was like my favorite band when I was younger.
Yeah.
You know, and in high school and stuff like that, right when they were kind of like starting to really get big, because I was listening to them in high school right when they were putting out those first couple records that really like blew them up. And I you know, I would listen through their discography as records came out, and nothing really ever like, maybe I just like grew out of a lot of it or something like that. I don't know. But for some reason, this record was like perfect timing for me. Maybe I was like looking for something in that like kind of solid state sound, because solid state records has a sound, I think.
Yeah,
I don't know if you can
absolutely.
agree with that.
No,
like,
I completely agree.
Like they have like a sound, and I'm a committed believer in science who listened to a lot of solid state records bands growing up.
Yeah, you're not the only one, man. I'm right there with you on that.
Yeah. I mean, at one point they were putting out some sweet shit. They had a Agony Scene, Zayo, you know, some sick Taste for Day, I think, was on that record label. But that record, for some reason, man, it just like, it was perfect timing for me, and the way it sounds, it just like, it sounds awesome, and it's just like, it's so well written. Like, it's hard to have full records sound great. You know, there's always like a dud. But that record, from start to finish, you can listen to that whole record all the way through, and it all sounds a little different, but it all stays together just enough to where you know it's like all one album.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Like, I don't really know much backstory on the record. I do know that a fair amount of the band at that point, they were either transitioning out of the band, or like new guys were writing on the records or something like that. But I don't know, man. I mean, I think that they just like, they brought some new blood in or something like that, and it just like, it hit, man. It's fucking awesome, and I cannot wait for new stuff. I don't know what their plans are or anything like that, but if they write stuff like they wrote this last record, man, I'm so excited.
Yeah, I think I'm very similar to you in the way that you were kind of listening to Norma Jean, because I was the same way. Like, I was super into them with those first couple records, and I actually remember I never got to see them, but knowing about them when they were the band Ludacris before Norma Jean. So yeah, those first two records I was like sold on. Like, there wasn't really any doubt in my mind. But then, like, somewhere along the way, I just like kind of like you were saying, man, I think I grew out of it. And I think either right when that record came out or a little bit before it, I made myself go and revisit everything or catch up on what I hadn't listened to over the years. And I was actually pleasantly surprised with most of the output that they had done over the years, especially with, I cannot pronounce it, but like Meridinial.
Totally. Yeah, totally. That one's got Deathbed Atheist on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember seeing that video and being like, man, this is fucking awesome. Like, why haven't I listened to Norma Jean in a long time?
Yeah.
They're one of those bands where, like, you kind of forget they're awesome. You know?
Because they had that, like, stigma, at least from where I was from, they had that stigma for so long of them being just like a Christian metalcore band. And I was like, well, I feel like they grow way, way, way beyond that. Like, even past their second record, like, they just kind of, like, shed that, but they were still, like, getting pigeonholed in that a little bit too much. So I know what it was now. It was before this record came out, and I heard about it was going to be released, and I was like, oh man, I should go catch up with like what they've been doing. So I didn't really know what to expect when this came out, because I was like, well, is it going to sound like this? Is it going to be going back to kind of like this? And it doesn't sound like, I mean, it still sounds like Norma Jean, but at the same time, it doesn't sound like any of their other records, like, at all.
Totally.
It's, you know, it's them, but I think that they... Yeah, like, I don't know, like, what's going on with who's in the band, who's not in the band anymore, but, like, whatever they got going right now, it really worked for this record, because I was pleasantly surprised. I was like, shit, man, I might just, like, get back into them again, you know? Like, but,
for sure.
Yeah, I think I quickly, it was one of those records that I listened to for, like, the first month it was out, and then I just kind of, like, let it go. So it was a nice little, like, refresh when you mentioned it.
Totally, it's a constant rotation record for me now. It's just easy to listen to when I'm lifting weights or when I'm, you know, doing something active.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a perfect, because it's pissed off, but like it's still controlled, you know.
Yeah, that was one of the things that when they transitioned from Josh to Corey, like vocal wise, that first record with is his name Corey or Cody? It's Corey. Yeah. I did feel like that first record with him was a little bit rough, but you could tell, like,
people love that record though.
I know. No, hey, I love it too, man. Like there's so many songs on there that I'm just like, man, these are really good. But to me, I guess maybe this is like my 15-year-old brain at the time. I was like, I wasn't sold yet. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I mean, I think that's a common thing, man. Like,
yeah,
people are they're creatures of habit, and once you hear something that you like, I'm guilty of this. Like, you want that. Like,
yeah.
I am a second singer in a band. Granted, I've been in the band longer than anybody else in the band, even former members at this point, and I've done more records than anybody former or in the past has done. But I am a second singer, and still sometimes people, say like, "Oh, I like the old singer more," and I just got to be like, "Well, that's good."
That record still exists. Go listen to it.
Yeah, I'm a creature of habit too. I like Bless the Martyr, Kiss the Child too.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also going to listen to the other shit because I'm not going to pigeonhole myself into a situation where I'm only going to listen to the old stuff. Because that's just that shit gets boring, man. Like,
yeah.
You can't don't be the guy that just listens to the old records. Like, keep trying. Like, if you're into it, keep listening to it. And if you used to be into it and you haven't given it a chance, well, fucking give it a chance because you might enjoy it. And I'm not just saying that like about my band. I'm saying that about like Norma Jean or Cannibal Corpse or
Killswitch.
Yeah, like any of those bands that have two singers, like you might enjoy it, or you might enjoy some of the guitar changes, the guitar band member changes. It just kind of might hit your ear the way that you like it, and you just never would have known it because you were too stubborn.
Yeah, and I think too, man, like with how music it is, like we were talking about this earlier with Tom Petty, it's really rare that a band keeps all the original members. There's gonna be some changeover at some point, like it's inevitable, and you just have to either like give it a chance or fuck off for a little bit and then come back and give it a chance later on.
Yeah. Outside of Miss May I, because I'm pretty sure that those dudes have been the same group of guys. Can you think of band that is all the same members since the beginning?
Actually, I think, isn't Mastodon still all the same dudes?
Is Mastodon all the same guys?
I want to say
yeah,
they
you're
are.
Probably right about that. Yeah. I think you're right about that.
I have never heard of them having a member change, so... And if I'm wrong, then, I'm sure somebody will point it out. That's totally cool, but...
Oh, dude, and if you are wrong, it's like literally the very first record or EP or something like that, because I saw them tour, I think, Blood Mountain.
Yeah.
Or what was the record before? What was the record right after Leviathan?
Yeah, it was Blood Mountain. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty positive I saw them tour Blood Mountain, and it's been all the same dudes since then.
Yeah, I got lucky and I saw them on Remission and Leviathan, so yeah, it was the same dudes back then too, so it's got to be the same guys.
Yeah, I mean, outside of that, I genuinely can't think of another band. Granted, my band has a lot of member changes over the years, but it's also because we're just broke, and it's hard to be a touring musician and be broke all the time. So,
yeah, eventually it's going to wear on people.
Real jobs, but sometimes that shit happens, and what can you do? But outside of Mastodon and Miss May I can't think of another band that's like consistently the same members throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, I'm really trying to rack my brain now because like I want to figure out like another one, because there's, especially with like metal.
I'm sure somebody who listens to the podcast will be able to figure figure out a band.
Yeah.
But, and I'm sure there's 100 out there. I can't think of them right now.
Yeah. The only one that's like vaguely coming to mind, but I'm pretty sure it's not right, is King Diamond. I feel like they did change a guitar player somewhere in there, but Andy LaRocque and King have been like there for the whole thing. But yeah, that's the only other one I can think of.
Yeah, I've just never really been a huge King Diamond fan, so I guess that wouldn't have even been on my radar.
That's fair.
I gotta try King Diamond out.
King Diamond's not for everybody, man. I totally like even before I like got into him, I was like, I fucking hate this. Like I hated it so much. And then I just heard one song that turned me onto it, and I was like, oh, I get it now. I really get it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I have a hard time with, like, most things falsetto.
Yeah.
I guess that's what you'd call it, right?
Yeah. I'm the same way. Like, I don't listen to a lot of bands that sing like he does. So I'm very particular.
Even, like, heavy, like, a lot of, like, traditional heavy metal, like, I just can't. I'm just not into it, man. Like, I can listen to Iron Maiden if somebody puts it on, but I'm probably not going to put it on. You know, I can listen to. I like what's that? Firewind. Firewind has a couple cool records out, but I'm not going to like. They're not in regular rotation.
I think I've gained like a little bit more appreciation for like the older stuff that I wasn't really into when I first started getting into metal. So like if it comes on now, I'm not like totally opposed to it, but I'm really particular about what I'll listen to, especially with like what you're talking about, like Iron Maiden and Judas Priest. It has to be like a really like one of their either really well-known songs or like some really obscure song off a good album that maybe people don't recognize enough, but
I would definitely go see them live. Like, if somebody like said like, here's a ticket, come with me, I would go and I would definitely have a good time. Like I can almost guarantee it.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. I'm just like I said earlier, a palate's palate. My palate just doesn't necessarily move towards that style of music.
Yeah, no, dude, it makes perfect sense. Like I know people that are like that too, and like I said, even myself, like I am generally like that. Like I don't listen to the old stuff unless I like really, really have to. Like especially at work, like I can only get away with listening to so much metal when like my main boss isn't around. So I'll put on something like Iron Maiden or a couple Metallica albums I can get away with, and they're like, all right, this is fine. But
are you like it has to be like a pre-Injustice guy?
Not entirely. By far, like my favorite Metallica album is Ride the Lightning, but
really?
I was growing up in the era when Black Album was big, so I have appreciation for all those songs. And
Black Album, man.
Yeah, I do like the Black Album, but I think after that it starts getting a little sketchy for me, and I'm like, like I fucking hate Saint Anger. I won't listen to it.
Really?
Yeah, no, I won't do it.
I mean, I won't sit and listen to Saint Anger, but I don't hate Saint Anger the same way people hate Saint Anger.
I have more appreciation for it after watching the documentary, to be fair, but there's some really like cheesy stuff on there that I'm just like, this isn't Metallica. This is
going back to the whole snare thing, man. I don't know who decided that was a good idea, but
Lars did, man. That was all him.
So, somebody needed to sit that dude down and be like, look, man, this band is worth millions of dollars. We can't do this. Like maybe like figure out a way to sample it out or something like that. But
to be fair, I don't think that last album they did is that bad. To be honest, like it's pretty decent.
That last record was great.
Yeah.
And then Death Magnetic I thought was great. They both had like pretty traditional thrash vibes to them. The newest one has like a little bit more of like a cleaner, slicker sound, but they're fucking awesome. But dude, Black Album, man, all the way. Like I know a lot of people swear by Ride the Lightning and Injustice and shit, but maybe it's just like because I was a little kid and that was all that was on the radio at the time was like Black Album and Tool and stuff like that where I'm from. But man, I still put it on and I still get fired up.
Yeah, that's kind of why like I go up to the Black Album, because that's kind of what I grew up hearing. I didn't know about a lot of their older stuff because I was so little back then, until like middle school, high school, and even then I was like very resistant to it. I was like, I don't know, this isn't the same band, but eventually it grew on me. I remember too, like we were talking about earlier, man, it just took one song to like really get me sucked into their back catalog, and it was on Kill 'Em All, and I think it must have been the Four Horsemen song. I am blanking on the name of the song unless that's it, but that song,
I think it was a song.
Okay. Yeah, that song sucked me in, and I was just like, yeah, okay, I get it now. And I was like 15 probably at the time.
Yeah, dude. Hail Metallica.
Yeah.
They're the reason why, heavy metal stuck around for so many years, was because they made it into the mainstream, like they did it. They're still doing it. They're the kings.
Yeah, I think it's amazing too, man, because they're definitely by far the biggest heavy metal band, probably outside of Black Sabbath. I guess you can say Guns N' Roses is a metal band. In my opinion, I know they're in the hair metal stuff, but like I've been seeing like those articles of like, here's how much Metallica made, but here's how much Guns N' Roses made, and I
think to be fair though, Guns N' Roses took like 20 years off.
Yeah, exactly.
Metallica has consistently been the biggest band in the world.
Yes.
For like fucking almost 50 years.
Yeah, you literally read my mind on that, dude. That's exactly what I was gonna say. It's easy to play on nostalgia like with Guns N' Roses, but they weren't anywhere near as consistent, and it's a fucking tragedy.
Yeah, Black Album still sells 2,000 copies a week.
Jesus.
Like some bands don't sell 2,000 copies first week.
Yeah, no.
Like that's insane. Granted, I think a lot of that's like, I think you still gotta like you still have to buy records to get them on the radio. I think. I don't know how that shit works.
Yeah, I don't either.
So I'm sure like radio stations, they're just like buying the record still, but 2,000 fucking copies a week is still 2,000 copies a week, and that's just one record.
Yeah, and they must get substantial like fucking royalties too, man, because one of the things that we noticed and like did some math on when we were watching that documentary is they were paying that fucking shrink like $3 million just to be with them.
Yeah.
And we were like, fucking $3 million.
That guy was shitting a brick when he found out that they weren't going to keep him around.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
When he was like, well, I mean, I was going to move here. Like, I thought we had a good thing going. It's like, no, dude, you had a good thing going.
Yeah.
Like you were raking in the dough, and we were still just sitting here bitching at each other, trying to put a record out.
Yeah, he was like no
Crazy.
help at all. And even then, like, I felt like sometimes he really instigated more of this shit too. And I was like, why is this fucking guy around?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
It's crazy, man.
Well, fuck, dude. We've ran the gamut here. This has been probably one of my favorite ones we've done in a long time. Like, not that I don't like all of them, but I love when we can just like really get into talking about like whatever music stuff we can. And yeah, this is a good one.
I just love to riff, man, and I especially love to riff like metal, because I don't really have a lot of friends that listen to metal. Like, all my friends, like, I got a friend that's like a DJ, so he listens to, like, he grew up listening to like hardcore and stuff, but it's all nostalgia to him now, you know? Like, I still love this shit, so when I get a chance to riff some metal shit, I get really excited. So it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, man, I really appreciate you doing this.
Yeah, for sure.
Is there anything you want people to check out? Let them know about?
Totally. Check out I Declare War. I don't care what records you listen to. I would love for you to listen to the newest record, Songs for the Sick. That's our most recent record we put out. It's on everything: iTunes, Spotify, the whole nine. If you enjoy it, I'd love to see you, purchase the record. That'd be great. Keep an eye out for a new EP coming out hopefully this year, and I guess follow us on our social medias. Facebook, Facebook.com/I Declare War Band, Instagram at I Declare War Band. Follow me on Instagram at Jamie Hanks 666. I post normal dude shit most of the time, so I'm not going to be very exciting, but occasionally I'll give you a record to check out, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
yeah, dude, I'll make sure we link to everything, and if you've never checked out his band, man, do it. Do yourself a favor, check out his band. Like, what do you have to lose?
Come and see us live. I mean, we don't play very often, or we don't play as much anymore as we used to. Like, we used to tour almost like 300 days of the year, but
yeah,
when we're around, man, come and see us, because I really do feel like that we're going to give you a show every time. I don't leave anything out there. I go hard every time, and I do it because I still really, really love doing it.
That's what matters, dude. A sincere thank you, not just as somebody who's toured with you, but just even for what you do, man. Like, it's good to hear that you're not gonna fucking stop doing it anytime soon. So just keep it up, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man.
Cool.
Be excellent to each other. And party on, dude!